coming up on this episode of It's That Part.
And because the question for today is simple. When power shows up at the door, do your rights show up too? Just think about that for a moment.
Yeah, it's that part. The part that makes sense. The one that hits different with your host, Jesse Lee Hammonds. Let's get into it.
What's the truth? Oh, the truth in every fact. What's that spark? Oh, that part that brings you back. What's that lie? Oh, that part that makes it clear. It's that part. Oh, the truth you need to.
All right. Today we're going to kick off Melanated History Month, also known as Black History Month. That's my spin. I put melanated there with something that is not just history. It's right now. Because Black history in America is not only dates and names. It's a repeated test of whether constitutional rights apply evenly or selectively. And because the question for today is simple. When power shows up at the door, do your rights show up too? Just think about that for a moment. Recent reporting describes an internal memo suggesting ICE agents may forcibly enter homes to make arrests without a judge-signed warrant, relying instead on an administrative warrant and a final order of removal. So if you're thinking that sounds technical, well, let me translate it. It's the difference between a judge saying, yes, the government can enter this home, and an agency saying, we authorize ourselves to enter this home. This is a Fourth Amendment conversation. But for Black and brown communities, it's also a history conversation. Because we've lived through what it looks like when the home is treated like a place where rights are merely negotiable. Yeah. What I'm going to do today is three things. First, I'm going to define the Fourth Amendment in plain language. No, I'm not a lawyer or anything like that. I know a few, but I can read and what it protects and why the home matters. Second, I'm going to connect it to a long Black historical reality, how the home has often been the front line where law enforcement becomes personal. Third, we're going to talk about what's happening right now, why it matters, and what we should be thinking about as citizens and human beings without panic, but also without denial. So let's get into it. The Fourth Amendment says people have the right to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. And it says warrants must be based on probable cause, supported by oath, and must specifically describe the place to be searched, the persons or things to be seized. Here's the key phrase here today. Houses, home. The founders didn't say papers and effects, but the living room is fair game. They placed the home at the center of what privacy means in America. And the Supreme Court, believe it or not, has reinforced that idea. One landmark case, Payton versus New York, the court rejected the idea that the government can routinely enter a private residence without a warrant, and even with force, just to make an arrest. In other words, there's a constitutional line that's in place there. At the threshold of your door. Now, are there exceptions? Yes. For example, consent and certain emergency circumstances, what lawyers call exigency. I believe that's the way it's pronounced. But the baseline principle is this. A home is not supposed to be searchable just because an agency wants it to be. In American history, the home is protected by a judge's independent review. So when we hear credible reporting that suggests a shift towards forced entry without judge-issued warrants, that's not a small procedural question. That's a major stress test on the Fourth Amendment. Now stay with me, because here's where Melanated History Month, also known as Black History Month, comes in. For many Black Americans, the Constitution has always been complicated, and that's not because we don't value rights, but because we've repeatedly been forced to ask, are these rights real for everybody, or are they selectively applied based on who you are and where you live? Let's think about it historically. If we go back far enough, the home, if you were enslaved, was not protected space. Your body wasn't protected space. Your family wasn't protected space. Then after emancipation, the surveillance didn't disappear. It evolved. Because the era of black codes and later Jim Crow, during that time, Black communities learned that law enforcement often meant social control. So when someone says, don't worry, if you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have anything to fear. Black history responds with a painful, documented reality. That statement has not been consistently true, because wrong has been defined in ways that shift depending on who has power. And this is why the home matters so much. The home is where children sleep. It's where elders rest. It's where families gather around tables and try to have normal lives in an abnormal world. When the home becomes a place where a person can forcibly enter that space, that sacred space, without the independent check of a judge, the fear isn't theoretical, it's generational. So yes, Melanated Month, also known as Black History Month, is celebration, but it's also a truth-telling season. And the truth is, Black and brown people often experience the sharp edge of policy changes first. Now let's talk about right now. The Associated Press reported on an internal memo describing immigration officers asserting the authority to forcibly enter homes to make arrests without a judge's warrant, using just an administrative warrant signed by an immigration official, paired with certain immigration conditions like a final order to remove or a final order of removal. So let's define some terms here plainly. A judge-signed warrant is what most people think of when they think warrant. It comes from a court, and an administrative warrant, as reported here, is signed within the agency framework. It's paperwork from the executive branch, not a judge reviewing probable cause, the way the Fourth Amendment tradition emphasizes. And again, this matters because of the home. Because Peyton draws that line at the doorway. Now, all of this is happening in a moment when tensions are already high, because in Minnesota, for example, there has been intense public focus on federal immigration enforcement activity. with reporting describing increased operations, community backlash, and protests. Civil liberty groups, or civil liberties groups, have also issued strong statements responding to incidents and calling for oversight and restraint. And beyond statements, we're also seeing policy and legal responses. Reuters has reported on efforts connected to allowing lawsuits against ICE agents, part of a broader push to create accountability pathways as concerns rise. So what we're looking at is not just a memo. We're looking at a collision. Constitutional doctrine about the sanctity of the home, reported enforcement practices and guidance, and the lived history of communities that have often faced the most aggressive interpretations of state power. And I want to say this carefully. This is not about demonizing every agent as an individual person. This is, however, about systems, rules, incentives, and guardrails, or the lack thereof. Because history teaches us this: if a system allows overreach, overreach eventually happens and becomes the norm. So here's the big question. In a constitutional democracy, who decides whether the government can cross your threshold, your doorway? Is it a judge, independent from the agency, weighing probable cause and limits? Or is it the agency itself, creating its own standard and then enforcing it? That's the question of right now. And it's not a partisan question either. It's structural. Because if the standard becomes an administrative document is enough to break down the door, then your rights are only as strong as the agency's restraint. And history tells us restraint is not something you can rely on. You rely on law. You rely on checks and balances. That's what the Fourth Amendment is supposed to represent. Melanated History Month reminds us that unchecked power does not hover neutrally over society. It tends to land hardest on the communities that are already considered other, already considered suspicious, already considered targetable. Now, let me be responsible here. I'm not giving legal advice on this episode. I'm not a lawyer. I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn or anything like that. If you can remember that commercial. I mean, I do know a few lawyers, but that's not what this is. I'm merely giving civic education. But I do want to help reduce confusion, because confusion is where the rights that we believe we have or that we know go to die. Because we're thinking that, well, if we don't know our rights, then we're thinking that it's okay. So here are a few grounded takeaways from this episode. One, understand the difference between a judge-signed warrant and what's often called an administrative warrant. Two, know that the Fourth Amendment's traditional protection of the home has been strongly recognized in American law. Three, watch what courts do next, because if these practices are challenged, the outcomes will shape what privacy means to everyone, not just immigrants, not just Black and brown communities, but everyone. And four, don't let Melanated History Month become a month of only nostalgia. Let it become a month of clarity, because history is not just what happened. History is what's happening again in a new outfit, with a new hairdo, with new language, and the same old pressure. So as we begin Melanated History Month, also known as Black History Month, here's the challenge I'm leaving on the table, as Michael Steele would say. If the Constitution is real, it must be real when it's inconvenient. If rights are rights, they must be rights when the target is unpopular. If the home is protected, it must be protected when fear is being marketed. Because once the doorway stops being the line, it's hard to redraw that line. So here we're going to keep watching this. We're going to keep reading this. We're going to keep verifying this. And we're going to keep telling the truth. Truth in every fact. It's that part.
That's it. If this episode gave you something to think about, share it. Talk about it. And if you've got further questions, get in touch at contact us at itsthatpart.com. That's contact us at itsthatpart.com. And you've got it. So until the next episode, be aware and stay awake. It's that part.
What's the truth? Truth in every fact. What's that spark? That part that brings you back. What's that light? Oh, that part that makes it clear. It's that part. The truth you need to hear. Truth in every fact. Truth in every fact. That part, that spark.